We're off and running on the Krueg Show. It is November the 14th, 7 o'clock, 7:04 to be exact on the West Coast, 10:04 on the East Coast. Hope everybody's having a great day. Welcome to the Pig in a Pickle Krueg Show on this Tuesday, as today our Raj from RSF 49ers is in the house. We're going to talk a little Niners. Of course, we're brought to you by Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. We're also brought to you by New York style Italian sausage. The only kind of Italian sausage that I will eat is New York style Italian sausage. You can find it in any grocery store in Northern California. And, of course, Marin Auto Glass, 415-883-3030, marinautoglass.com. Phenomenal sponsor that's been with me for several months now. And then, of course, we're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy and Mojo Fantasy. And make sure you check the link in the description and type in the promo code Krueg on either site, Krueg, and they'll match you up to $100 on your first payment there. If you get rolling. So, and everybody on the Mojo side that enters and types in the promo code Krueg automatically is entered into a drawing to win a Bosa or a Purdy jersey, which we're going to give away on Thanksgiving night, which is coming up. Niners and Hawks from Seattle. In the postgame, we'll give away a Purdy and a Bosa jersey, courtesy of Mojo Fantasy. But you got to go to Mojo Fantasy and type in Krueg. And get rolling with them, and that automatically enters you into a chance for the Purdy or Bosa jersey. And by the way, it's a jersey that has yet to be purchased. So if you're 6'9", 410 pounds, we're going to get you the jersey that actually fits you. If you're 5'1" and 77 pounds, we'll get you the jersey that fits you. It's not like you're going to get some jersey that's just random sized. This is a custom fit jersey of your choice for either Brock Purdy or Nick Bosa.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Raj? How are you, man? Good to see you.
I'm good. It's long time no see. I saw the chat. Everybody's like, "Where you been? Have you been hiding? Did Larry hide you? Take him to Pig in a Pickle. He'll come every time." Yeah, man. I just been busy. Our schedules just haven't linked up like they usually did. So I'm doing well. The 49ers won a game. I'm doing absolutely great this week. It's a much better feeling after a win than a loss, but I'm doing good. And how are you doing, Larry?
I'm doing fantastic. It's this. I was nervous going into this game. The Niners won 5 in a row, and then they lost 3 in a row. And this Jacksonville game on paper looked really daunting. And they went there and they took it right to the Jaguars. And they were the more physical team. They got the lead. They played the game on their own terms. I thought it was a great win, and now bring on the Buccaneers. Now I feel much more enthusiastic about the season now that they kind of righted the ship a little bit.
Yeah, same here. I feel so much better about the outlook and the outcome of the rest of the season, because I'm not going to lie, I felt the same, Larry. I was a little bleak coming into Sunday. I was like, oh, man, Jaguars are good. It's an early game. Travis Etienne, they got these receivers, da-da-da-da-da. They had won 5 games in a row, and everybody said they were like one of the best teams coming into the Sunday's game. They were coming off the bye. And, I expected to be a close game. The 49ers dominated them, and this is what they need. Statement game. This is the type of game you want to see the 49ers give you, because that's what this team is all about. They have superstars at every level of the game, and those superstars came to play. Their big-time players came to play. Debo, Kittle, CMC, Trent Williams was a dog, played on a bad ankle. Bosa and Chase Young. Oh, my
Hargrave,
God. Duo. Yeah. Hargrave. The duo of Chase and Bosa lived up to every single hype that we gave them all week. And, man, it was a fun game, Larry. It was so nice to see a dominating performance. I didn't care how they won, but the fact that they won like that, I'm like, okay, Super Bowl back. We back, baby.
Well, and more than anything, it's like, I want to see this team have a full run in January. And it's good for my channel. It's good for everything, but it's definitely good for the channel if the Niners go to the playoffs and are have 2 or 3 playoff games and make a run. And, just seeing how the numbers and how the channel has grown by leaps and bounds, it seems like, there's the momentum of a season really starts to build as you turn towards the playoffs. And if the 49ers could, it looked like they were going to be maybe the number one seed. Then it looked for a couple weeks like maybe they wouldn't even make the playoffs. So now to see them kind of right the ship, I think we've got a reason to believe that they're going to be in the playoffs. But let's start with transactions because, there's been two guys that have been cut loose. One, the Patriots waived Jack Jones, the corner. And to me, when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. Jack Jones is a terrific young corner. And I know he's had some problems off the field and this and that, but I knew that somebody would pick him off waivers. Sure enough, the Raiders were the team that picked him off waivers, and it goes worst to first, starts in the AFC and then goes to the NFC. So the Raiders is one of the worst teams in the AFC, had one of the higher picks. And of course, they jumped in on Jack Jones. And if they hadn't, several other teams would have before it ever got to the Niners. I'm pretty confident of that because Jones is a good cover guy. Everybody needs a corner. Whatever happened in New England, whatever, guys, probably was a personal situation. I know this guy's had some problems.
Yeah.
But I would have definitely, if I was John Lynch, if he had gotten to the Niners, I would have plucked him in a second and just called myself lucky. Now he's gone. But the New York Jets today have said goodbye to Michael Carter, their running back. And I loved Michael Carter coming out of North Carolina. He's a smallish back. He's not the super fast guy, but what he is a great receiver. He's kind of like Elijah Mitchell. He's very dependable. He's like never, ever, ever fumbles. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure how the Niners feel about about Ty Davis Price, TDP. I'm confusing my TJDs and my TDPs. But Ty Davis Price, I liked him in camp, but man, he's just buried. And I really love Michael Carter. I think Carter's got a lot of talent. I don't know where Carter's going to go and if he'll fall to the Niners or not, but are you a fan of Michael Carter of the Jets? Have you studied him at all, Raj?
Yeah.
That the Niners would be interested in a guy like Carter.
I mean, Kyle Shanahan, if it was up to him, every player on his team would be a running back. He loves running backs. You know that. He made a joke after he drafted Jake Moody this offseason, and he says, look, man, I wanted to draft a running back, but we didn't need another one. So I think if the team wanted to, they would try to make it happen. But of course, waiver wire, just like Jack Jones and stuff. But I feel like Jordan Mason is the answer. The guy that we're wanting to get more action to take the pressure off of CMC, he's there. It's Jordan Mason. And I feel like Kyle he falls in love with CMC because he's so good. He's so dependable. He's like a notch above every running back Kyle Shanahan has ever had. He's the perfect guy. I think he would be, a good fit for the 49ers. But the problem is, I don't even think Kyle would use him. He'd just be sitting there just like TDP. And that's a guy. Holy moly, this guy fell off the face of the earth since training camp. I thought he did good too, just like you. I was there. And it kind of feels like Kyle Shanahan just overloads these running back positions, and then he doesn't, utilize them sometimes. And that's what the guy he really likes is Elijah Mitchell as his running back too, but he can't stay healthy, so he doesn't get as many opportunities because Kyle's a little worried if he's going to get healthy. I think Jordan Mason needs to be the guy that Kyle leans on a little bit more to take some pressure off of CMC. But also, CMC just needs to stop being so good. He leads the league in rushing yards, and just everything he does is so crisp. It's like, and that's why he had that long TD streak, is because he's so good, such a hard worker. And again, once he came in, he changed the complexion of his offense. So would it be nice to have Carter? Absolutely. I think he'd be good depth in case you never know what's going to happen. I think he'd be, an upgrade over Mitchell because, like you said, he's dependable. Mitchell is not. So I think in the sense of depth-wise, yeah. But even if the 49ers got him, I really don't think he'd be seeing many touches on this backfield if they were to get him.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's hard to envision him playing a whole lot, but at the same time, he's a back that I really, really like, and he's kind of a utility back. I could see him being a nice player for the 49ers, and who knows? It's like if you could just stash him. I mean, like they have McNichols on the practice squad.
Yeah.
I'd take Michael Carter and stash him on the practice squad if I could. That's for sure. All right. I want to ask you about Brock Purdy because now, starting with the 2022 game against the Dolphins, and if you discount the NFC Championship game where, Purdy started 4 for 4 and then got hurt and essentially knocked out of the game, Purdy has essentially played in 17 full NFL games. So technically, he has played in the length of a full season of basketball games. And his stats are 319 for 470. So he's completing 68% of his passes, 4,183 passing yards, 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 8.9 yards per attempt. And to sum it up, it's a 110.6 rating, which would have led the NFL, all NFL quarterbacks by a wide margin in both 22 and 2023. Do we know? I mean, now that we've seen 17 games, there's so many people that, there's people that are like me who like have believed from the beginning that Brock Purdy's real. There's people that are to this minute don't believe that Brock Purdy is real and think that are sure that he's not. And then there's the rest of the group. And I think that there's something to be said where I think that we have a real good feel right now for for what Brock Purdy is, which is I think he can he can process what he sees. He's got better accuracy than you think. He's got better the timing is better than you think. He can process what he sees, and the ball comes out on time with accuracy, with pace. And I think he's a really good NFL quarterback. 31 touchdowns and 8 interceptions is a good year. A 110 rating is fantastic. And I also think, though, we know the bad, which is he threw 33 interceptions in college, and he occasionally gets loose with the football and will throw the ball into harm's way and will mix in some turnovers. Now, he doesn't have a ton of picks. I mean, 8 interceptions, that's not crazy by any stretch. But I think that's kind of the good. I think we've seen the good and the bad of Brock, and I think we've got a pretty good idea of what he is. What do you think? I mean, are you which camp are you in, Raj? Are you in that camp where, hey, you know what, I really believe and have for a while, or I really don't and won't for a while, or now that we've seen 17 games, do you feel like this is a good moment to kind of say, you know what, we got a pretty good feeling for what this quarterback really is, good and bad?
Oh, absolutely. I think Brock's the real deal. I've said that. And again, going back to training camp and the off season, Kyle called him the starter from like way back when. And that's unprecedented for Kyle over these last couple of years, right? He said he's the real deal. He's the guy. He's the leader in the clubhouse. That's all we needed to hear. And I think with the, vote of confidence, that's all you need to know for Kyle Shanahan in this offense. And Brock, he's proven himself. Like you said, he's finally played a full year, calendar year, as a starter, basically. I mean, this Sunday against the Tampa Bay, it's the anniversary. It's basically the team he made his first start. So full circle weekend coming up. And I think he's played great. Now, I think the one area where, he still needs to kind of do better is what happened in the last 3 games. He wasn't playing with the lead. He couldn't come from behind. I think as he gets better and wiser and smarter and he develops more, I think that will come with it, because winning games in the fourth quarter and the clutch when you're losing it's not just on the quarterback. There's other things that happen, defensively, and the coach and the, play calling and this and that. But overall, Brock Purdy has shown that he's a solid quarterback, and he could only get better. He's 23 years old, Larry. 23 years old, quarterbacks like this, and quarterbacks at 23 usually don't put up these stats. And I know a lot of people are going to say product of the system, this and that. He improvises, his ability to read the defense and scan and know where players are. The tight window throws. Oh my God, how many tight window throws has he made? And it's like, oh my God, decision making's pretty good. I know this weekend he made that throw to Brandon Ayuk where Kyle wasn't happy about. I watched it again, I think he actually intended to throw that to Ayuk. And sometimes you got to take the risks. Just like Brett Favre when he was playing, he was a risk taker, and it worked out pretty good for him. Now, I don't think Brock is that dangerous, that much of a gunslinger, but I like Brock, and I think he's only going to get better. The team loves him. He's a good leader. He's poised in the huddle. And if you give the 49ers a lead, this man's not relinquishing it and that's what he's proven right now. And again, as he develops more, he's going to learn how to play from behind. That's just something you have to learn and develop in this league. But man, Brock Purdy, if people don't believe in him, they're just, status quo. Oh, he's Mr. Irrelevant. There's a reason why he was the last pick in the draft, this and that. There's always going to be people that doubt him. But every week he's proven himself. And I think this weekend against the Jaguars was huge for him. The bounce back, that's the type of game he needed. And it was a dominating performance. So as he continues to win, there's always going to be people that doubt him. But absolutely, Brock Purdy's been a very good quarterback. 23 years old, man.
Oh, I know. In the 49er offense has got the highest touchdown and first down rate in the NFL and the lowest turnover rate in the NFL. And then Brock Purdy, as far as where does he rank through 10 weeks, number 1 in the league in passer rating, number 1 in the league in QPR, number 1 in the NFL in yards per attempt, number 1 in the NFL in adjusted EPA per play. Big time throw rate, he's 5th. Completion percentage, he's 7th. Passer rating under pressure, 1st. Completion percentage under pressure, 1st. Yards per attempt under pressure, 1st. I mean, and as far as his 5 interceptions, there's only 5 quarterbacks who have thrown fewer interceptions than what Purdy's thrown. So, I mean, the guy has been unbelievably good, and we'll see where it goes from here. You never know. The Niners worked out a free agent quarterback today, the former New York Jet, Chris Streveler. What do you make of that? I mean, they've got Brandon Allen, they've got Sam Darnold. Purdy's playing well. Why are they working out Chris Streveler?
I think just in case, you never know, just to be on the safe side in case anything happens or an injury occurs. You can never be too safe. We saw what happened last year. And I think someone was saying that, for some intel on players, against Philly and a couple other teams, maybe he has some ties to some of those players. So maybe just to kind of pick his brain and keep him on the back burner. Sometimes you work these players out just to kind of get in their minds. And if you need someone later down the line, practice squad, maybe somebody's not working out here and there. You just never know. And I think that's what it was. I didn't read anything into it, although people were going a little crazy on the comments saying, oh man, Brock Purdy's days are numbered. And is someone hurt? Who's hurt? So I just think it's one of those, maybe a little intel on a guy like Jalen Hurts or also just to be safe down the line.
It's interesting, yeah. And teams, people say, well, no, they wouldn't bring in a quarterback for intel. No, you're wrong. They would bring in a quarterback for intel. Teams do it all the time. And they do it in the Canadian League. They do it in the NFL. They do it they would do it in college if they could. You're looking for intel anywhere you can find it. And you might bring in a quarterback that you feel like can share some intel with you. Because I don't think he's going to jump in front of Brandon Allen, Sam Darnold, or Purdy.
No.
And so it's got to be. I think intel's got to be part of the reason why. I thought it was interesting today. I saw that the Eagles and the Niners both made an unsuccessful bid to get Patrick Surtain before the trade deadline, according to reports. Ultimately, 7 teams, they say, called the Broncos about Surtain, but they opted to keep their first-round draft choice from 2021. And now Denver's won 3 straight after a 1-5 start to put themselves in the playoff conversation at least. And they got an amazing, unbelievable win last night against a Buffalo team that fired Ken Dorsey this morning. But I thought that was interesting. I mean, this is what I love about John Lynch is that, John Lynch has kind of changed the whole focus of NFL general managers at the trade deadline with his annual aggressiveness, from Emmanuel Sanders to Menahue, Jordan Willis, CMC, this year Chase Young. Even Lynch kind of spoke about it, that now it's harder to consummate deals because there's more bidders, because teams have seen the impact of trading for a player in late October or early November and what it can do to your football team. But I like the fact that that the Niners made a bid for Surtain. And I knew that Howie Roseman would try to get Surtain. And if you're the 49ers, I mean, obviously the first thing is you wanted to land him. You didn't. The second thing is you don't want the Eagles to land him, and they didn't. So I guess it's just a no harm, no foul. But to me, I love the fact that Lynch made the Chase Young trade, made the Randy Gregory trade, got super aggressive on Surtain. Why? Because it makes sense. They're inside their Super Bowl window, and I love that kind of go for it attitude when you're inside your Super Bowl window.
Absolutely. And you know what? The 49ers have a plethora of draft picks. F them picks, right? They know they can get more picks. They get coaches, that turn into head coaches, and they get, front office people turning into GMs. They're going to get compensatory picks. They can give those picks away. They get players that they develop. They go sign somewhere else. You get a compensatory pick. They know their system. President Lynch and this front office, they have figured out the system in the NFL. They are so good at finessing the system. They figured it out. It took them a couple years. They load up on these late end draft picks. They trade the top end because sometimes they don't draft so good in the top end, anyways. You load up on these late round picks and you find these gems. You scout like crazy and you turn them into great players at midseason because people are going to be, giving away players. It's a frenzy at the trade deadline because some teams, they need draft picks. They're like, okay, we're rebuilding, we're having a fire sale, and John Lynch, he pounces on the moment and he says, "Oh, we need this, we need that." And like you said, Emmanuel Sanders, Amedahu, Jordan Willis, every year they come. CMC last year was crazy, and then this year, the fact that they almost got Patrick Surtain on top of Chase Young, could you imagine? That would have been so
awesome.
crazy. I mean, the fact that he's aggressive and he at least tries and he does his due diligence, I commend him for that. And he almost tried to get Jalen Johnson too, the other big cornerback in the market. But the Bears wanted a second-round pick. And I think this year, because of the fact that the O-line is going to be a priority and we don't know what's happening with Trent Williams, I think, and Brandon Ayuk, if they don't re-sign him or something, I think they want to make sure they have those first two picks this year to, mitigate their lot if they're gone, right? Depending on how the rest of the season goes. So that's smart. But if it was like any other year and they didn't have to worry about that, I think they would have gave those picks up to go all in. But I feel like they know they kind of need to prioritize the offensive line coming up. So I think that's what John's like. Now I'm going to draw the line at a second round pick. Third round pick, you can have as many as you want because they know they're going to get them back. So kudos to Kyle, man, or John Lynch and this front office, because Chase Young was an absolute difference maker this Sunday. I think he's going to have the same impact on this defense that Christian McCaffrey has had on the offense. He was that much of a difference maker this Sunday. First game, he's already, had 2 QB hits, half a sack. Him and Bosa were just revved up. You could see the chemistry was immaculate, and Nick Bosa looked like the happiest he's been all season. He looked happier playing with Chase Young than after signing the contract, which is crazy. This man's energy, you can see it. Bosa was smiling. He was shrugging, had a big game, his best game of the season. And that was the first game he played with Chase Young. Wait until they get a little bit more chemistry and they practice more. I don't even know what's going to happen the rest of the season, but it was fun watching those two play on Sunday. Holy smokes.
I know. What a combo. That boy Water says 48 likes on 192 people in the chat. Hit the like, yo. Now 242 people in the chat, but thank you, that boy Water. Yeah, everybody hit like and subscribe. If you hit like, that just helps build the boost the stream and more people find it. If you hit subscribe and hit that notification bell every time we go live, you'll get a notification that we are going live. But thanks to everybody in the chat. And that boy Water also had another one in here. He said, "I appreciate what you do for us Niner faithful. Much love to the Krueg Show." Thank you. Appreciate that. It's a labor of love, man. We're having a lot of fun talking Niner ball. Me and Raj love talking ball together, and Raj loves doing this on his channel with other people as well, and I do too, and it's just great stuff. And it's something that we really enjoy. It's a lot more enjoyable, let's be totally honest, when they win. When they lose, I know there are people that actually kind of root for them to lose, even though they don't admit it, because there's more traction and there's more upheaval and there's more there's just sometimes, give you an idea. I mean, I think we had, like maybe 1,000 people in the room for the post game the other day after the win, but after the loss to the Bengals the other day, the week prior, 2 weeks prior, we had 2,000 in the room.
Yeah. I get more engagement after a loss. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just the way it is. So people love misery. Let me ask you this, Raj. What is your primary 49er concern now that we've seen Chase Young? And by the way, I talked to Chase Young last week, and he just loves being in a winning organization with all these great players. He was saying that, I don't feel like I got to carry the load because I look around and there's CMC and there's Nick and there's Hargrave and there's Armstead and this, where, I mean, he was on a very good line for the Commanders, don't get me wrong, but this might be the best line in the game right now. And now that they have him, I'm not as concerned about the pass rush. Still the backup guys, we'll see, but that's no longer the primary concern. And I think he also is pretty good at setting the edge in the run game.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way the Niners looked
Ooh.
against the run. I love the combination of the tight coverage. A lot of those sacks early in the game were coverage sacks.
Yeah.
But before I get into my primary concern, what would you say yours is at this point?
Yeah, you know what? They fixed a lot of the issues that were there because you nailed it. The run defense was atrocious over the last couple of weeks, and this weekend, wow, they shut down ETN. They didn't just stop him; they shut down, and he was he was one of the reasons I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a tough game because ETN's all-purpose machine, just like CMC, he did nothing. They stoned him, so that was a big concern for me. I know a lot of people are gonna say cornerback. They're gonna say Lenore, but Lenore switched over to nickel. He was primarily playing outside. I think the coverage was better this week. I know it's still something that needs to be better. The penalties, I feel like secondary is still an area where they can fix. But again, you got to remember, Lenore was primarily playing outside this year. Then they switched him inside. So for a young cornerback, moving and switching sometimes can be a transition. Jimmy Ward used to talk about that all the time. That's why he didn't want to keep switching. He wanted to play primarily safety. They played him at nickel and stuff like that. The biggest issue to me, though, still right now has got to be the right tackle spot, the right side of the O-line. I know we've always talked about that, but Feliciano looked good coming in for Banks. He's looked good this season. I know Kyle touched on it, that he's probably going to platoon with Burford when Banks comes back. I think he might need to start. And Jalen Moore, I feel maybe you move him to right tackle spot. Colton McKivitz, he rolled his ankle. I think it opens the door for Jalen Moore, who's played better than him. So I feel like if they can kind of rectify that O-line, it would be a lot better for this team, because when they play against Seattle, when they play against Philly, those defensive lines, especially Philly's D-line might be the team that rivals the 49ers in terms of D-line talent. They got to make sure that they can block those guys, because they are going to be, revved up monsters against us. So I think right side of the O-line, because they've been making a lot of penalties, false starts, specifically Burford, and I thought he was great last year, but this second year he's really struggled. So maybe they can kind of fix that right side by putting Feliciano, the veteran, who's a little bit more, tactful, and he doesn't rack up those silly tic-tac penalties, and he's looked good. And then but going back to the secondary, I really hope that Womack gets cleared to come back, because I think he might be the answer at the nickel spot. I know they've been,
Ambry outside and Lenore inside.
They've been kind of,
experimenting.
testing the waters, experimenting. I think Womack might be the answer, but we'll see. He's got to compete. But shout out to Ambry Thomas, man. That was the best game I've seen him play in a very long time. So shout out to Wilkes for believing in this guy and making the adjustments, because they did play a lot more tight man coverage than that silly soft zone that was getting them killed the last couple of weeks. So great adjustment by Wilkes. But those would be my concerns.
It's funny. Jamal Allah says, I'm concerned about our kicker, man. Which I'm concerned about the kicker as well, just because, the Niners are getting into a pressure-filled part of their schedule, and they got a rookie kicker. And Robbie Gould remains at home, and it sounds like he wants to kick because he worked out for the Giants a few weeks ago, and the Giants chose to go in a different direction. So maybe Robbie's lost it. Maybe he doesn't have the leg anymore. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm still a little concerned about the kicker. I think your comments on the line are interesting too, because Jalen Moore. I talked to Jalen Moore a couple times in the last couple of weeks, and he's just a really solid guy. Like I don't know if you've ever seen any of the interviews I've done with him, but he's just a really bright guy, really solid guy, really confident. He's not like one of these guys. Sometimes you think of offensive linemen, backup offensive linemen, as guys that are not very confident. This guy's really confident in what he can do. He's learned a lot from Trent Williams. I agree. He can play right tackle or left tackle, and he probably could play either guard spot as well. And if you don't have McKivitz healthy, maybe that is worth exploring. I think it's going to be interesting to see, do they view Jalen Moore on the right side higher than they view Matt Pryor on the right side? Because they've kept Pryor.
Yeah.
And Jalen Moore's the backup at left tackle. I think Pryor's number 2 at right tackle. So would it be Pryor get that first run if McKivitz can't go? I agree with what you're saying about Feliciano. Feliciano had a couple pancake blocks this week, and
Yeah.
he's just really physical and he's really trustworthy. The only thing about Burford is Burford, in a lot of ways, is the physical prototype. I mean, it's not like I want to throw Burford away. I think
Yeah.
Burford is the future. I mean, Burford's got the absolute perfect physical prototype as far as size, strength, arm length, build. He's got the perfect build. Now, I know it's tough to transition from college offensive tackle to pro guard, and then it's not always a straight line, right? He had a good rookie year, but he may have regressed a little bit this year. Seems like they can't have a running play between the tackles where Burford doesn't get called for a penalty.
All the
So
time.
that's problematic because you can't, if you said to me, what has hurt the Niners in the last, 3-4 losses, or 3 losses, it was the lack of a run D, but a lack of a run game, and a lot of their lack of run game was due to the fact that they're sitting at second and long all the time because of penalties on first down. So, you see it when you watch the game close, how much a single penalty will derail an offensive drive.
Yeah.
Even just one. Doesn't matter what it is. False start, anything at all that makes you fall behind the chains just puts so much pressure on the quarterback and the entire offense to convert that first down. So you really can't do that. They gotta stay ahead of the chains so that, if Burford's going to keep making penalties, then he's probably got to be replaced,
Yeah.
even if he's the prototype, but then Banks has got the turf toe. And I know guys who have had turf toe and they came back in days. I know guys who have had turf toe and they never came back again.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, it's one of those injuries where just cross your fingers that it's not a serious turf toe, problem, because turf toe can be a career ending type thing. I know that sounds crazy. It sounds harmless, doesn't it? Turf toe.
Yeah.
But it's really not. I mean,
It's ugly.
it's debilitating. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, so hopefully Banks gets back soon.
Yeah.
Because he, Banks was also having a pretty good year before he went out. Yeah. How concerned are you about Jake Moody?
Oh man, I didn't talk about him because when I mention his name, I get PTSD. So if we're gonna be real with it, yeah, we do have an issue with kicker because man, I get so nervous every time he's going to kick. I'm just like stomach is queasy. I'm like, oh my god, that second field goal he made the other day. Holy moly, how that was like the closest you could be without missing. That was so
He
close.
hit
And
it straight, but it was like
then it just
two and a half inches inside inside the bar. I mean, it was
God, man, I don't know. And you hit the nail on the head, Larry, is if the 49ers get into a pressure situation, a game-winning field goal situation against like a big-time, team or in the playoffs, Philly, whatever, Lions, whatever the case is, I don't know if he's going to make the kick because I just don't trust him right now. And it's the pressure, the fact that he was drafted in the third round, I think that's mounted up. This is the only kicker I've seen that icing the kicker actually, it's a thing against him. Like the teams will call a timeout, and I'm like, oh my god, they just iced Jake Moody. I get stressed out watching him. Oh man, I mean, you saw the game last night, Monday Night Football. Denver Broncos missed almost every kick, and if it wasn't for 12 men on the field, that's the feeling that you don't want to have as a 49er fan. The fact that they missed kicks and they could have lost the game because of that. I don't want that to happen. And you're right. I kind of feel stressed out when the man's kicking. They don't have any other options. I hope he figures it out, but he's making them. I don't care how he does it. If it's just an inch by the goalpost, the crossbar, that's fine. Just make him. Don't miss him, because if he misses him, oh man, I don't know if he's gonna be able to show his face up in San Francisco or Santa Clara for that matter. Oh man, he is.
just make it. Just make it. Yeah, seriously. I mean, that's really the bottom line on that is just try, make those kicks if you can. It's interesting. They take on a Tampa team that blitz a lot. Minnesota's number 1 in the NFL in blitz rate, 30.3. Tampa's 2. They blitz 24.3% of the time. And when you look at the way the Niners have faced the blitz this year, Brock Purdy and the 49er offense have produced against all the blitz-happy teams thus far. And, it's going to be interesting. I mean, we saw Purdy light up Todd Bowles' defense last year, and I don't know what we're going to see this time around. But what do you think? You think Bowles? I mean, Purdy's numbers against pressure. Once again, passer rating under pressure, number one in the league. Completion percentage under pressure, number one in the league. Do you think that Bowles will mix it up? He's been known to mix it up. Will he mix it up and not blitz Purdy, or what do you think is the better route to blitz the young quarterback and give him defined reads and take your chances, or to sit back and not blitz him and rush 3 and make him be accurate and drop 8 into coverage, or rush 4 and drop 7? What do you think?
I don't think that they're going to respect Brock because again, the critics say he doesn't throw the ball deep. That's not the 49ers offense. You don't sit back. I think they're going to try to blitz him because he's a young quarterback. That's how you traditionally beat young quarterbacks, get them uncomfortable. And I don't think it matters for the 49ers this week because, again, Trent Williams being back is huge for this team. I think it really solidifies what Brock can do running and scrambling and creating. Deebo Samuel coming back. That is the guy that makes things work. And again, tone setter. We talked about it this offseason. The tone setter, Deebo Samuel. With him back, you can blitz all you want because wide receiver screen, boom, slant and go. And then you got Christian McCaffrey, who this Sunday, Kyle finally used him in better ways. He's the all-purpose guy. And instead of just running the ball up the middle, instead of running the ball between the tackles, like you said, that has been inefficient because they can't really block on the right side, or Spencer Burford getting weird penalties, they threw the ball to CMC. Now, if you're throwing the ball to CMC in space and Deebo, you can blitz all you want. Boom, boom. They get open so fast on those short intermediate routes, it doesn't matter. So you can blitz them, and if you sit back, they're going to hit you with something else. The jet sweeps, Deebo brought it back this week, and it doesn't matter because now with Kyle Shanahan having Deebo back in this offense, he can get so creative. That's what he was missing over those last 3 games, is the creativity that he can do and all the gadget plays that he can just come out of his mind with Deebo Samuel back. And then if you're using CMC out in the slot, it's dangerous. So Todd Bowles can blitz all he wants. I don't think it's going to matter this week because I feel like the 49ers, again, refocused, recalibrated, having Deebo back and Trent back is just the energy they needed. Just walking out to the field with the boombox, you could see the energy this team felt from those guys. So I think he's going to try to blitz, though, because they are a very blitz-heavy team. I've been watching Tampa Bay here and there, and that's what they do. They bring the pressure. They got Vita V, who's phenomenal. He's a good guy. He's great. That's going to be the one guy I'm worried about. But 49ers.
He's just so disruptive. Vita Vea leads the Buccaneers, 4.5 sacks. He's forced a couple fumbles. He's created 6 sacks. He's been double teamed at the 6th highest rate in the entire league. So you got him. Then you got Shaq Barrett. He's leading the way off the edge. He's got 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 picks. And then he leads the Buccaneers in pass rush win rate at 13.2%. They also have Kalijah Cansey, the rookie out of Pittsburgh. He's got a pair of sacks. They've got really good inside backers in Levante David and Devin White.
Yeah.
Then Antoine Winfield, the free safety, to me is just always around the football. He's accounted for 3 forced fumbles, 4th in the league, 3 fumble recoveries. That's the most in the league. He's got a pick. He's got a couple sacks. I mean, Winfield's huge. I looked at their box score last week. Tampa had 13 hits on the quarterback.
Yeah, they're always at him. It's again, Vita V and those linebackers you mentioned. Those guys are just flat out speed. Like we talk about Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw as the best duo, but those guys in Tampa Bay are close, man. Like I got to give them their credit. They're very close. They're a great duo, but we all know Fred and Dre are better. But yeah, that defense, they love to just run to the quarterback. That's what they do, pin their ears back. But I think Brock loves playing against those defenses because, again, he's a short, small guy, and people give him crap, and he just gets rid of that ball so quick, boom, 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 and he thrives off of it.
Yeah, I mean, and they, Bowl, it's a 3-4 defense. They blitz a lot. As I said, they blitz at the 3rd highest rate in the league, but they're 16th in sacks and only 25th in pressure percentage. So it's not like they've gotten home. And then they play a lot of zone coverage. They play 38% man on dropbacks, which is 22nd most in the league. They play 62% zone, which is 10th highest in the league. Opposing quarterbacks have a 60.2 QBR against their man coverage, which is 12th, 66.9 QBR against zone, which is 30th in the league. So it's going to be interesting to see, what if Bowles has any, wrinkles here or does something the 49ers are not expecting. Buccaneers take the ball away. They play good defense in the red zone. So they're 8th in the NFL in points allowed. They give up 19.2 a game.
Oof.
They're giving up 5.5 yards per play. That's 26th. And they're giving up 266 passing yards per game. That's 31st. But what they're good at is they have 16 takeaways, which is 6th. And it's the best red zone defense in the league. They've given up a touchdown on only 32% of the red zone trips. That's best in the league by more than 2%. 2%. So they're really good in the red zone. They're really, really good in the red zone. They're gonna force you to kick field goals more times than not in the red zone. And if the Niners can score touchdowns in the red zone, they're probably going to win this game decisively. But to me, there's two areas in this game to worry about. The Buccaneers, pass rush against the Niner line, which, the Niner line is coming together, but this is a really good Bucs line on defense. And then I think Mike Evans and Godwin against the Niner corners. What did you think of the impact of Steve Wilkes, moving from the booth to the sideline? Do you look at the Niner defensive resurgence as tied to that move, or did it have nothing to do with their success?
I don't think it had nothing. I wouldn't say it had nothing to do. Sideline Steve, Larry. That's my name from Sideline trademark. We got to make a shirt for it. I think it was a huge difference maker. I know obviously Chase Young was probably the main reason and the refocusing and but you could see the energy. Like these guys are used to having someone out there. I feel like this is the way I look at it is okay, you have your captain, your general of your army, and he's now in the front line with you, in the trenches with you. I think they respected him more. It's not that they didn't respect him before, but I feel like it's hard to call in. And if there's like a big moment, a big play, to call in and say, hey, Fred, tell Ambry he did a good job. When you're face to face with someone, Larry, and in the moment, and you're excited and you tell them, what a play, man. Like they feel that energy off of you. I think that's what it really did. And again, he made the adjustments, playing more man coverage than the soft zone. He took criticism. I got to give a lot of respect to Steve because he got called out 2 weeks in a row. The media was making a mockery of him and saying, man, they made him the scapegoat. And I think he knew his job was kind of in thin air. He was on the hot seat in a way. And he benched Oliver, his guy that he brought in the offseason. That's a big move for a coach to make, to look at a guy and say, look, I brought you in, but you're not doing it right now. Sit on the bench today. I'm going to bring Ambry Thomas, who hasn't been playing good, and gave him the shot of confidence that he needed. He did the celebration with Javon Hargrave. Like, that was what we wanted to see, the animated coach on the sidelines. And you could see he was fist pumping. I think he tried not to get too excited because the camera kept panning on him. Like, is he happy out there? But I think it did make a difference. I feel like they felt the energy. And what Fred Warner said after the game, he goes, the communication was flawless. And that's what it is. I'm sure you can get the calls in from the booth. And there's a lot of coaches that coach great from the booth. The 49ers, they're a team that thrive off of energy, and I think that energy really helped them out. And again, kudos to Steve, man. He made some great adjustments this weekend compared to the past couple of weeks, and I think that made a big difference. And you could tell he meant business. When he was walking to the field, there's the video of him walking, just looked laser focused. I was like, oh, he's standing on business today. So, yeah, I think it made a difference.
It's just, to me, it's what the Niners defensive players are accustomed to. And if it makes them more comfortable having him there, then good. But ultimately, my whole thought was, hey, man, Steve should watch where he sees it the best. But it's also, coaches coach, players play. Your players have to be comfortable. If your players are accustomed to Saleh and D'Amico having the coordinator there on the sidelines and having that face-to-face communication, then who's to say that they don't need it? I'm not going to say that they didn't need it. The one question I wish I had asked Steve last week is, you've been doing this for 20 years. Of your 20 years, how many years have you been in the booth? How many years have you been on the sideline?
Good question.
Because, he basically said, hey, man, I'm built for this and I don't mind the criticism and, and I've got a lot of self-confidence and this and that. But I'd love to know if, was he on the sideline for the first time ever? Probably not. He's probably been on the sideline a number of years. So I'd love to hear from him as far as, and maybe I'll ask him that this week. how much time have you spent? Because I bet you it's like 65-35 booth to sideline. I bet you he spent at least a third of the time on the sideline, and it's not like some foreign concept or something completely new. It's just something that even Shanahan admitted. Hey, if I had my druthers, I'd rather be in the booth.
Yeah, yeah.
The warm booth, you can lay out everything, you can hear everything clearly. So, but sometimes you got to feel it, and it's football's a lot of times it's an emotional game, and it's a game where communication is really, really important. So, if the players are happy with it, so be it. I thought Ambry Thomas, though, it's funny. I asked Shanahan the question last week. I said, Kyle, you said your team was tired and slow. Well, they're going to get a week off. That should make them less tired. But how do you inject some speed into the lineup? And he laughed. He's like, you got any good ideas? And I said, oh, well, how about Danny Gray? And he kind of goes, well, he kind of laughed. He's like, well, that's one guy. And it's hilarious because then, sure enough, I say go put some more speed on the field, and they take Oliver and his 4.6 or 4.7 speed off the field. They replaced him with Ambry Thomas, who runs 4.4 flat coming out of Michigan, probably their fastest for the stopwatch defensive back that they have in the building. And it was almost like, I felt like he was hiding that from me. It's like that was, to me, this game had more to do with Ambry Thomas and the tighter coverage than it did in Steve Wilkes being on the sideline. And I think it's hilarious that Shanahan was like, well, what are we going to do? Where do you have any ideas? I should have said Ambry Thomas. What do you think of Ambry Thomas? He's a lot faster, but he actually did I agree with you, Raj. I'm hoping that Womack or Luter can add something speed-wise to this back end and help them out in that regard. But Ambry Thomas is, as well, is a much faster athlete. He's a much better cover man than Isaiah Oliver, and it showed on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to you. I think maybe he listened. Maybe you were secretly text Kyle. Put in more. He didn't want to give the secrets because
he didn't want to give it away. He didn't want to give it away, but he maybe I'm the one who gave him the idea.
You gave him the inspiration. Thank you, Larry Krueger. Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Krueger is the reason why Ambry Thomas got into the starting lineup. They need to hire you in the coaching.
Is it possible that maybe in the standings they could just say, and like an L there for like Larry,
Yeah, put an asterisk or something.
Little asterisk next to that one. Larry's suggestion of adding speed was really the key to the Jacksonville victory.
Maybe next week, ask him, say, what was the reason that made you put, and he's going to say, it was you, Larry. I want to hear him say it, and we'll put it online.
Dude, if I could get him to say that,
I need to hear him say your name. That's what we got to say. But absolutely, Ambry Thomas played a hell of a game, man. And, it is because he's a more physical back. We know he's that press man cover corner, but he's just never had a consistent, footing in the league. And I think a lot of it's just mental. He gets beat, and sometimes he was getting called for those penalties. That's the one thing about being a press man cover cornerback in the league is if the refs don't respect you, you're going to get called for PI every single time. And that's what happens with Moody Ward. He's press man also, and he gets called on these tic-tac penalties. But once you get a little respect and you start making some plays, they're going to let you be a little handsy, because that's what Richard Sherman was. He was a handsy, hands on you, but they respected him, and they were like, okay, we're going to let you play a little bit. But, yeah, good move, man. Speed injected to the lineup. Get that man Oliver out of the lineup. That's all they need.
The key to pass coverage is pass coverage. I mean, the old coach used to say that all the time to me. He'd be like, Larry, let me tell you, boy, the secret to pass coverage is pass coverage. And I'd be like, Coach, what do you mean by that? And he'd be like, you know what? It means that it's not about me or my plan or my game plan or my adjustments. It's about, do I have dudes? Do I have guys? Do I have athletes? Because to mirror an NFL caliber wide receiver up and down the field, you got to be a freaking athlete. And you can't. That's why. I mean, look what happened a couple years ago when they took on Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins, and they had to sign Brian Allen off the street on a Wednesday, and then he had to play significant time on Sunday against the Dolphins that day. I can remember that like it was yesterday. It was Ryan Fitzpatrick coming out of the huddle. I'm looking at him on the binoculars. He's like looking, surveying the field, finding Brian Allen. He would point at Brian Allen, and then he would go at Brian Allen.
Oh man, that was.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
I felt bad.
I felt bad for him too. But I mean,
he got death threats on his social media.
Did he really? Oh,
Yeah,
God.
he got actually. He was 6th-string cornerback that day, and they had to start him because, like you said, the injury. This man got death because you want to talk about getting cooked and burned, but again, you're right.
Well, that was the day that Akello Witherspoon said he couldn't play, and then after a while he said I could play.
Well, I remember that, and people were like, "Oh, that was the final straw for Akello on the Niners." But I remember because like he posted some message. I think his girlfriend or something, Brian Allen's girlfriend posted, and it went viral. Somebody posted. I was like, "Wow, he was actually getting death threats." He goes, "Look, man, I know I didn't play great, but for people to come in and threaten me and this and that, it's crazy, man. I just try to play my best." And it was a crazy situation. I can't remember who posted, but it was like all over 49ers Twitter. It was like a trending topic one day. I was like, "Wow, it is." Yeah, it was crazy. I felt
that.
bad.
Yeah, that is crazy. I mean, not just crazy. That's stupid.
Yeah,
People need to just pump the brakes. Joel Martinez says, any word on Womack or Luter possibly playing this weekend? No, but there's 3 weeks. It's a 3-week window. They've been up for 1 week. This is week 2. So they got, I think after next week, they'll either have to be up on the roster or they're on IR and done for the year. So this is their window. We're going to find out. We'll be asking that question. RG Teamster says Purdy isn't elite, but there's only one elite quarterback, number 15, Patrick Mahomes. It's funny how it wasn't that long ago that people were saying that Josh Allen was elite. Did you see that game last night?
He's a turnover machine.
Forget Josh Allen for a second. Buffalo's done. God. Buffalo's cooked. I mean, seriously, Teron Jackson with the PI. All he had to do was turn around for the ball, and he could have intercepted the pass. Instead, he face guards and gets a PI, and then they miss the kick. But you have 12 men on the field, and you give them another try. I mean, people said that Steve Wilkes was scapegoated for the Niners' struggles. I got to think that Ken Dorsey might have been scapegoated for last night.
I don't know, man. He's kind of been ever since. I think it was last year where he had
Wasn't he supposed to be like the hot name in coaching not that long ago?
I remember last year. I remember last year when people were like, fire Kyle, hire Ken Dorsey for the Ford. And I was like, are you kidding? Where are those people now? Because that is
I think that I hate to say it. I think Grant might have been one of those on the
I'm
Dorsey
sure he was. That's
bandwagon.
an outlandish take, and I can see him say it. But man, Josh Allen is a turnover machine. Like there needs to be a conversation. Like he's got good arm talent, but when are we going to hold a quarterback like that to a higher standard? Like when are we going to hold him and have the same conversation? Because if Purdy would have thrown those, that's why he's Mr. Irrelevant. And Josh Allen has been good. Okay, I know he can run the ball.
He's got an awesome gun.
He does, but man,
he's 6'6" with an awesome gun.
He looks like the prototype quarterback, but his decision making, Larry, is so bad. And you're right. Maybe they scapegoated the OC because maybe it's the quarterback that's his issue. But whatever the case is,
he wasn't great at Wyoming, man. He wasn't. We're talking about a guy who completed like 56% of his passes.
Yeah, he just had good arm talent. Yeah, you saw
awesome arm talent.
Yeah, and that's what it is. But decisions, man, he's not it. And that's the thing. He chokes in big games. He chokes in big games, Larry.
Would you rather have Purdy than Josh Allen?
Oh, man. I know that was a question today. I mean, talent-wise, you look at the guy, like you said, 6'6", the arm, the legs. I mean, Josh Allen is the better athlete, the better quarterback. But his decision-making is part of being a quarterback. But if I'm sitting here and I looked at the two quarterbacks, I'm taking Josh Allen, obviously, because he just looks like the prototype. But the decision-making is something that you can't really teach. He has to learn how to make.
Do you watch the JT O'Sullivan quarterback school?
Yeah, I watch it when I can, yeah.
Did you see it this week at all?
I haven't yet.
It's really good, and I did a video on it. And it just kind of goes through and shows one that Brock's throwing with a good base, that his route recognition, his his pre-snap coverage ability to know what the coverages are, to get them into the right play, out of the wrong play, to know where the pressure's coming from, to know where how to lead receivers to the void in the defense, and the arm strength that he showed in this game. I mean, the ball that he threw to Kittle, where he pumped it, and then he was going to Ayuk underneath, and he pumped it, and then saw Kittle had a step on Lloyd, and with not being able to step into his throw, not being able to finish the throw, he still got enough on it to to throw it past Kittle down the field, lead him past the linebacker for a quick 6. There was some great arm talent yesterday there. I mean, that's the one area after watching Brock and watching this quarterback school, it's like, we know he can process, but man, he also made some phenomenal throws where he really had perfect lower body mechanics, and because of it, got tremendous zip on the football.
It was
much more than you would ever think he has.
Insane. That was probably the best throw I've seen him make, and he's made some nice throws. But the fact that he pumped it, stepped up, had the defender in his freaking lap, like he was in the defender's, like it was. I was like, "There's no way."
There's no room there. It was a total muddy pocket. Yeah,
and the way, and like his arm, he kind of like flicked the wrist. That was the longest throw of his career. And wide open. That was a good play design for Shanahan to get Kittle over there. But the big takeaway from that was like, what a poised quarterback to stay unflappable, stay in the pocket, pressure on you, no room for error, and you make the big throw. That was unbelievable. And you got to remember, he had a surgery on that elbow. He got it repaired, and he made that throw. That was crazy to me. Like, people forget he had the rehab this summer. So that was a nice throw, man.
Well, and then he told us last week that during the bye week that he didn't do any throwing and that his arm kind of freshened up. He did lifting, but no throwing. And, maybe it was one of those things because he definitely had more juice on the football in this game than it seemed like in any other game. I'll tell you the pass that I loved was after the Niners negated the whole Ambry Thomas, 90-yard return or whatever by coming off their sideline, and it's 1st and 10 on the 19. Well, 2 plays later, it's 3rd and 9, right? They only got 1 yard combined on those first 2 plays. So it's 3rd and 9, and you start to feel the pressure because, you had a touchdown, and the Niners were up significantly at that point. It was still 20 to
3.
20 to 3, yeah. So it wasn't like the game was, it wasn't like the game was in the balance right there. But if they score a touchdown, they stop the Niners and score a touchdown, it's 20 to 10, and who knows? And the fans get into it, and the crowd's all into it. Well, Purdy gets on to that 3rd and 9, and Ayuk runs that kind of curl, and then kind of curl and almost like curl to the out. Like he curled in off his left shoulder. He was on the offensive right side, defensive left side, came down, ran like a 15, 18-yard curl, and then moved into the void of the defense, and Brock put it right on his hands in the void and right on the sideline. And it was a 20-yard pass play on 3rd and 9, and suddenly it's, instead of 3rd and 9 from the 19 and you're punting, now it's 1st and 10 from the 41. And, a couple plays later, I think Debo scored on the end around, and he was 27-3 ball game, but I mean, to me, that throw right there to Ayuk was another beauty and another arm strength. I mean, that was down the field, outside the numbers, to the void with defenders in the area, and he put it right on him. So it was, Purdy right now is as long as he can take care of the football, I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a guy, even in the Minnesota game, even in the Cincinnati game, he played well and made a number of plays. He turned it over. But he had completed 85% of his passes going to the fourth quarter in that Minnesota game, and he was running for his life in the Cincinnati game, but keeping them in it. But the turnovers burned him at the end. As long as he can take care of the football, I think they can win with him. I really do. I think they can win it all with them. And it's funny. We had Peter King on 95.7 last week, and without me even prompting him, he's like, he's got enough arm. People say he doesn't have enough arm are crazy. And then he said that he believes he's good enough to win a Super Bowl with. So
there we go.
There you go. Peter King.
I love it.
A couple super chats here. Scotty B says, can you ask Kyle why Jordan Mason is in the doghouse? We last saw him running in for a touchdown. What do you think? I mean, I've been almost tempted to ask Kyle this question. I'm sure if I said that question, phrased it that way, I would get the he's not in the doghouse.
Yeah. Right.
Kyle would never admit that he's in the doghouse. But it does make you wonder, why does a guy you were at training camp a ton this summer. You saw how much they utilized him. They utilized him as much as they utilized CMC or Elijah Mitchell. He ran as much as anybody, and he had a number of really impressive runs. It wasn't like he's just some extra. This guy got a lot of run. If you didn't know better, you would have thought, yeah, he's going to have a significant role in this offense. And then we get to the regular season, it's all CMC.
Yeah. I feel a lot of it, again, like I said earlier, is the fact that CMC is so good. It's hard for Kyle to get. They asked him a couple weeks ago, like, CMC, are they going to help with his usage? He's getting ran down a lot. And Kyle just said it's just hard not to give him the ball. And again, I think that's a big part of it. But the other reason that I'm thinking, maybe the only reason that I think that Mason maybe, in the doghouse, the proverbial doghouse. And if you were to ask him, don't ask him that quick, because he'll kick you out, Larry. I don't need to see you getting kicked out of the media room. I think that it's more of his blocking, pass protection, zone, blitz pickup, blitz recognition. Maybe that's the case because, Kyle, if you're not blocking, you're not rocking, right? No block, no rock. I think that part of it.
Is it even Kyle's call?
Maybe it's not, but it should be.
Is it possible that it's Bobby T's call?
It could be because he's so well respected from Kyle. So you could be right. The other question or the other aspect of it is ball security, because the one other area that Jordan Mason did have issues, especially this offseason, training camp, and was ball security. Maybe Kyle's like, I don't know if I can trust him. That could be something, but you could have nailed it right there. Maybe it's not his call because he does respect Bobby T a hell of a lot since, so maybe it's his call. I don't know. That's a good point.
That might be worthy of a question tomorrow, is just be like, hey, I know you have great respect for Bobby T, but is the running back playing time on you, or is that on him? I mean, do you decide that, or does he decide that? Just to see if he would say, I'm the head coach, I decide everything, or would he say, you know what, I decide everything, but I really defer to Bobby T because of his experience.
I pass it by him.
Yeah, I mean, it might be. Maybe. It might be something like that.
We might have figured it out.
Seriously. By the way, Raj, a couple last ones before we let you go. 49er missed tackles. I saw the list this week. 7 against Pittsburgh, 8 against the Rams in week 2. Then 3 against the Giants, 4 against Arizona, 2 against Dallas. Okay. So the Niners came out. They weren't tackling great that week 1, which is not a surprise because, it's week 1 and you're just kind of shaking off the rust. Week 2, they weren't great against the Rams tackling. But then they really cleaned it up against the Giants, Arizona, and Dallas. And then the missed tackles against Cleveland were 10. The missed tackles against Minnesota, 9. The missed tackles against Cincinnati, 13. This week against Jacksonville, their missed tackle number was down at 7.
Okay.
The bye week probably freshened them up a little bit. But, it's I guess if there was one other concern that I would have, if you said the number one concern for me, I'm concerned about the kicker and his ability to make kicks under pressure. That's one. But I'm also concerned about the Niners and how they're defending the screen game.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of room in there. There's a lot of space. And it just looks like if somebody ran, I don't know, 3 or 4 screens on a drive, that one of them would be a broken play and go for 40 yards. I mean, it just seems like they don't seem like they're totally got it down as far as where everybody is and closing on the running back or whoever's catching the screen. It seems like there's too much room there. What do you think? Or where is the screen game defensively and how they defend it on your list of concerns?
Actually, watching that last game, there was a point in that Jaguars game where every single play was a screen pass. And I was like, this is crazy. They can't. It was like they're screening them to death. I remember when I think it was that long drive the Jaguars had, it was like basically screenplay. And you're right. It was missing tackles. And that definitely is a concern because I was saying that over the last few weeks, like tackles were missed. Dre Greenlaw being out of position. Hufunga was missed. Isaiah Oliver was a big culprit of missing big tackles. He got benched, right? So the number went down. I think also, like you said, they kind of refocused, got refreshed. A couple of weeks ago, I think Eric Branch wrote an article. He said that Greenlaw was playing with, taking painkillers before the game. So he was kind of not his best. Maybe some players have been, playing through injuries. There have been some guys that played hurt. Some other players that were on the team that are on the injured reserve, like Drake Jackson, a guy like that. Maybe some of those guys were just out of position. I think also too the scheme, right? Wilkes, he changed it up a little this week. I feel sometimes he had players a lot out of position, in terms of where they lined up. So I think maybe getting back to basics helped them. But I am concerned because that was a huge issue over the last couple of weeks, especially that Jaguars game. If they would have been able to, get a few turnovers here and there, I don't think the Niners were able to stop that screenplay. Like it was almost every play for a while. It was like, is this all they're going to do? And I think other teams are going to see that and say, well, if the 49ers can't stop it, we're just going to keep doing it. So definitely something to keep an eye on moving forward. I don't know, man. I don't know why they're doing it, because they've typically been good. And, I think a lot of that too, if you look at the last couple of games, they couldn't stop the run either. So this game, they were able to stop the run. They were able to kind of, lock down ETN, and their tackles were a little better. I mean, they still did miss some tackles. Maybe they just got to hit the weight room a little bit more, So
Well, I mean, last year, if you think of the poor tackling in that Kansas City game, the play that sticks out to me was the screen from Mahomes to Jerick McKinnon, and I think he threw it to him. I think he caught it around the 18, but he just kind of weaved through and got down to like the 2 or something. It was like, so the angles, and I know Steve talked about, they really just need to take proper angles and have the right technique and the right attention to detail and stopping the screen game.
Yeah.
Niners are 11.5-point favorites over the Buccaneers. Buccaneers coming off a 14-point win. They're a half game out of first place in their division. I'm telling you, Raj, if the Niners are going to get that number 1 seed, I think this is it right here. I think we're in the window of it's go time for that number 1 seed. The next 4 weeks, Niners get Tampa, Seattle, Philly, and Seattle. Philly gets Kansas City, Buffalo, desperate for a win, the Niners, and then at Dallas.
Yeah.
So, if the Niners are going to get that number 1 seed, it's got to happen right here.
This is it. This is what this next month of football, Larry, is going to determine who gets number 1 seed in the NFC. And it may not be the Niners or the Eagles, because you just said how the Eagles' schedule is getting a little tough.
Could be Detroit, huh? Because Detroit's got an easy schedule.
Their schedule is giving me cavities with how sweet and easy it is. It is crazy. They got like cupcakes coming up. So if these two teams lose some games, the Lions are going to be there to pounce and make up that ground. So I think the Lions are the team to keep an eye on, sleeper for the number 1 seed in the NFC. But I feel like the 49ers, again, if they handle business and if they play like the way they played Sunday, they can take that number 1 seed. But yeah, Philly's tough, man. I know that they got a tough schedule on paper, but I guess the way I look at it is those teams are going to be worried about Philly. I don't think Philly's going to be worried about that. Maybe Kansas City, but that's a big game.
Are you going to Philly?
What's that?
Are you going to Philly?
I won't be at Philly. I'll be at the Tampa Bay game this weekend, and I'll be at I'm trying.
You have gone on the road though, haven't you?
I'm going to Arizona game, and then I'll be at the Ravens game for Christmas.
That's at home though, right? Yeah. I'll be there for Christmas night as well.
Ooh.
Hopefully that's a win. Hopefully that's a win. I'm worried about that one.
I don't want to cry on Christmas, Larry.
The Keaton Mitchell game, it's like he's playing well. Red and Gold Niner Bang says, Larry, JT called out Brandon Ayuk for jumping too much. What is WDYT?
What do you think?
Oh, what do you think? Jumping too much?
I didn't see that. I got to see the context.
Yeah, I mean, all I'll say is Brandon Ayuk is having a phenomenal year outside of the fact that I want to see him score touchdowns. I mean, he scored 8 touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
And I really thought for sure he would have 10 or 12 based on what he looked like this summer, just because he looked incredible. I thought he looked as good as any wide receiver I've seen since Jerry Rice, in a training camp. I mean, balls that were thrown low, he dove for. Balls that were thrown behind him, he went back for. He acted like every ball was like his personal mission to catch every ball. Crossing routes in the middle of the field. I swear he jumped like 10 feet into the sky one time for a crossing route this summer. I mean, he just had a catch radius that was freaky. I mean, it was Randy. I felt like I was watching Randy Moss
Yeah,
this summer, and
he's
he's been
great.
great. If you go yards per route run through week 10, Tyreek Hill is number one, 3.95. Ayuk second at 3.11. CeeDee Lamb's third. AJ Brown, who's been fantastic for the
Ooh,
Eagles, is fourth. So Brandon Ayuk's having a very good year, a
yeah,
very efficient year.
yeah,
But yesterday or Sunday was only his third touchdown
yeah.
of the year, which is really a surprising number to me. So I just, I got into it the other day with Vish about this, and it was like I wasn't trying to say he wasn't having a good year. I was just trying to say that I was disappointed in, it's like I look at it's like Bosa. Bosa had 18 and a half sacks last year.
Yeah.
Is Bosa having a good year? Well, he's, coming into this week, he had like 2 sacks. So and yet John Lynch will say, hey, he's having a good year, and I know he's doing a lot of positive things, but his sack numbers are way, way down.
Yeah.
Same thing with Ayuk. Ayuk's done a lot of great things, but his touchdown numbers are just down.
No.
So I don't know. What did you think? What did you think this summer when you were watching him this summer? Did you think, because to me it seemed like this guy was going to have an all-time year, and
Hmm.
he's had a great year for receptions, but not a great year for touchdowns.
No, I thought the same thing, and honestly, I am a little disappointed. Not saying that he's played bad, Larry. I'm not saying that. Oh my God, Ayuk's horrible, but
But just what you expected
he was
based on what he looked like.
after training camp, walking away from training camp this season. I said he's going to break every single record in the like. You're right. Jerry Rice is probably the guy you were like. Was that Jerry Rice in the building? No, it's Brandon Ayuk. I was like, wow, all
It
the
was amazing this
it
summer.
was crazy. Like Debo said, he can separate in a phone booth. That was crazy when he said that. And the attitude that he had. And I'm not saying that Ayuk played bad, but he has had some critical drops, Larry. Let's be honest. And if he's trying to get a big contract, he's on a contract mission, right? He's trying to get his bag. I expect him to have touchdowns. Like those are what at the end of the day when negotiations are on the table and he's sitting there with John Lynch and they got the pen and they're breaking out the numbers. John's gonna say, "Well, how many touchdowns? Oh, you had 4 touchdowns this season." But if Brandon Ayuk says, "Oh, look, I had 12 touchdowns," oh, that's hard to replace, Larry. That's what we need. We expect him to have big money numbers because he was going to be a big money player. And it's not that he hasn't played good; he's played phenomenal. His route running impeccable. We know he's made some beautiful plays, but he can be better. He can be better, and that's what I think your takeaway is yeah, he's been good, but he hasn't been great, Larry. He's been good, but he can play at another level. And I think this second half of the season, we're going to see it. I think maybe that's what the focus of this second half of the season, because I did see him step up, make some big plays, the touchdown, big play. I think him and Ayuk or him and Purdy have to get back on that connection they were having. And he did have a little injury early in the season, but when Debo was out, I expected Brandon Ayuk to go like just crazy, and he did good, but I thought he could have done better. So I agree with you in that
Is
take.
it possible that Purdy is hearing the noise about Ayuk's lack of touchdowns and was forcing the ball to him on the first drive,
I think
knowing that the dialogue has been about, hey, Brandon Ayuk doesn't score red zone touchdowns, or Purdy doesn't hook up with his receivers enough in the red zone, and then all of a sudden the first time down, he kind of forces the ball to his receiver. I don't
I,
know.
I think so. Honestly, Larry, I honestly
These
think
guys would always deny that they were impacted by the outside noise.
if you're a wide receiver, Larry, if you know wide receivers, they are want to make sure that they get the glory. They're the prima donnas. They're the alphas of the offense. Historically, and I know Ayuk's very humble. He's a quiet reserve guy, but contract season, Larry, I'm guarantee you, he called up Purdy. Yo, Brock, how's it going? I saw you on your tractor this weekend. Get me the ball next week. Make sure I get a touchdown. Okay, have a good weekend. I guarantee you, Brandon.
Yo, bro,
Yeah,
nice tractor. Get me the fucking ball.
I guarantee you he had that.
Something like
I
that.
guarantee you he did.
That's awesome. We get Hella Frankie says, hell yeah, we need more Krueger and Raj. Oh, Raj is the man. Raj has got a bad cough today, but he's the man.
Yeah, it comes and goes.
It's a lingering cough. Okay, Raj, last one before we get out of here. A lot of talk about, the Super Bowl. I mean, we kind of went through it in the post game. It's like right now, if you First of all, who was your Super Bowl pick at the beginning of the year, and who would your Super Bowl pick be right this minute?
I took Chiefs Niners, and I said,
I took Niners Chargers.
oh, I said
I was
Chiefs Niners, and I said,
projecting Chargers. Niners Chiefs, by the way, to this minute are co-favorites in Vegas for the
I
Super
know.
Bowl.
I had the Chiefs beating Joe Burrow and the Bengals in the AFC Championship, and I had the Niners Eagles in the NFC Championship. So that's the way I saw it. Now, I know the 49ers, we're all hyped up. We're all excited after a win. I'm going to strip my emotions back because if I just go off of what happened Sunday, obviously I'm going to say they're a Super Bowl team. There's still ways to improve. We talked about it, the penalties, the offensive line. Maybe you move Feliciano, the tackling. You can't miss tackles. Again, the big penalties. And can Brock Purdy play under duress? We see how great he is with the lead. In the playoffs, you're not probably going to always have the lead. And you have to be able to come back. And unless the 49ers just dominate everybody. But I feel like Purdy still has a little bit more to go and, to be able to be a Super Bowl winning caliber quarterback. I think this team is very close. I think Chase Young was a huge missing link. How many times did we talk week after week when we were doing our offseason this year, Larry? Get a edge rusher, get a veteran edge, I feel like they finally listened to you. Maybe Kyle is finally coming around and listening to you, and so is John Lynch, because they finally made a big money move. Because I was not happy with Clelin Ferrell, Randy Gregory, all those. I mean, they're good, but they're not the guy that we need.
They're not Chase Young.
They're not elite, and Chase Young has that elite potential, and he's in a contract year. Again, that is money motivated player, and you can see it. They needed that. Now their D line is like a hockey team. They could just rotate. Okay, line one. Okay, boom. Line two. Okay, line three. And they're all very good. They're all very skilled. So that is huge. I think that's going to be the second half key. We talked about Brandon Ayuk. Can he step up and be that wide receiver one? If Brandon Ayuk levels up and becomes a touchdown scorer, and you don't have to put all the burden on CMC, then it's a Super Bowl team. Then we're talking about it. So we're still got a little ways away.
You were going Niners Chiefs at the beginning, and now you're going Niners Chiefs still, or are you going Eagles Chiefs?
Absolutely. There's nobody in the AFC that's going to touch the Chiefs when the playoffs come, because they're going to have home field.
I went Niners Chargers at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
Right now, I'd have to say Eagles because they're 8-1, and the road to the Super Bowl is going through Philly. It's a really tough place to play.
Yeah.
I guess I would go Philly Bengals, but the Bengals are last place in their division. The Bengals are behind Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
Division.
What a division. Bengals are 5-4. I would have thought Buffalo early in the year, but Buffalo might not even make the playoffs.
They won't. That schedule they have,
it's brutal.
Brutal.
Yeah.
I will say I agree with you that it's going to run through Philly, and that's another reason why I'm saying I don't know if 49ers can make it all the way. It's not that I don't believe them, but playoffs, when you're not at home, it's so hard to win on the road, man. And the 49ers desperately need to get the number one seed.
There's only one team in the NFC, in my opinion, that can beat the 49ers in the playoffs, and it's Philly. Yeah. I don't believe Dallas can. I don't believe Detroit can. I don't believe Minnesota can. I don't believe, especially now with no Cousins. I don't believe in the Saints. I don't care if it's with Carr or Winston. Don't believe in Seattle. So to me, it's Niners and Eagles and Niners, Purdy against Hurts. And hopefully the Niners can beat them. I do believe the Niners can beat them in week 13 because I really believe that the 49ers talked freely that they thought they were the better team. There's nothing wrong with saying that. But I just have gotten this feeling around this team all year that they're going to fire a big, big effort that day in Philadelphia. Yeah. So I really think the Niners are going to beat Philly in Philly. But are they going to be able to, beat Philly in Philly twice if Philly still gets the home field? I mean, that's so hard to envision. But maybe if they beat Philly in Philly, maybe they have the kind of second half run that I think the Niners potentially could get on. Who knows? Philly's got a little tougher schedule. Maybe the Niners could wind up hosting the Eagles at Levi's. If they host them at Levi's, I feel very good.
Oh man, I hope they host the Eagles at Levi's because I'll be there. Oh man, and I can't wait.
Oh, it'd be great. It would absolutely be incredible. Okay, we got two last supers, and then we'll jet. Keith Murphy here says, Keith Murphy, the unbeaten. I don't want to hear generational talent and Trevor Lawrence in the same sentence until further notice.
Yeah.
I mean, he there's no question that guys like Herbert and Allen and Lawrence, if they were filming a movie about NFL quarterbacks, those guys are straight out of Central Casting, right? 6'6", they look the part, big arm, and I was impressed by Lawrence's toughness, but Lawrence is not there yet. I don't think Herbert is there yet. Allen, I think, is there, but he's regressed a little bit. Mm-hmm. But don't you think? I mean, those guys are just like the prototype.
Oh, yeah, you're right. If they're casting a movie, one of those three guys is going to be the quarterback they have to play. I think out of those three guys, if I had to choose one to build my team around, I'm taking Justin Herbert all day, every day.
Really? Over Allen?
Oh, all day over Allen. Yes. Again,
if you could, to me, it goes Mahomes and then Burrow.
Oh, yeah.
And then probably I'd go with Allen.
No, I don't have Allen that high, man. You're overselling him, in my opinion. I have
Mahomes. You like Lamar?
I like Lamar, man. Give me Lamar. He's good. Yeah, man. Give me Lamar.
Hurts? Where's Hurts?
Yeah, he's probably top. He's definitely up there. Maybe I have Hurts over Lamar. I'll go that way. Hurts is good, man.
Oh, no, I mean, Hurts is incredible. And the only thing is Hurts is on such a good team.
Yeah.
And he's got such a great line.
He's got a great line. His receivers are take him away from the Eagles team and you put him on an average team. That's what you got to do. When you look at quarterbacks, you got to envision them on a mid team and say, could they still do it with the mid team? Look at the Chiefs offense. It's not the greatest skill set players. You got Travis Kelce and who else? And
Pacheco. They got Pacheco and Kelce.
But they don't have
and they got Andy Reid.
Oh, they have Andy Reid. But I'm talking about
their receivers are just Sky Moore and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And,
Come on. But Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, they did win a Super Bowl with Tyreek Hill. Yeah. It's like he didn't have receivers.
No,
he's had some good weapons.
Tyreek's phenomenal. But you take him away, that receiver core with any of those other quarterbacks, I don't know if they'd be able to do what Patrick Mahomes is doing. Kelsey's phenomenal, though.
Keith Murphy says, I told you Burrow and Allen last year, come to my side. Yeah. He said, I told you last year Burrow was better than Allen. Oh, I think Joe Burrow's better than Allen.
Absolutely.
For sure.
He's so good, man.
Joe Burrow in that game against the Niners, that was like a clinic. He was
like a surgeon.
They couldn't do anything. I mean, it was just like everything he did. It was just like, oh, my God. That game was so – that's why when I watched that Bengal game, I think, you know what? If I was going Super Bowl, I went Chargers, Niners at the beginning. If I went today, I'd probably go Eagles, Bengals. Man. I just think Bengals are going to beat whoever they face in the playoffs.
If they make it to the playoffs, they're going to be a very dangerous team. That's the thing, because you got Burrow. He's a big game player, man. He is so good. And in the playoffs.
Good. Chase.
Yeah.
And if they run the ball, I mean, they didn't run the ball against anybody, but they ran it against the Niners. Keith Murphy says right now Allen is
Favre
without the MVPs and Super Bowl. Allen throws a lot of those 50-50 balls. How about that one he threw on the sideline last night? There was two guys there, and he just kind of sprayed it to the sideline. It had a ton on it, but so what? You got two defenders right there, and you just kind of threw it in the neighborhood. So I don't know. I there's something about Josh Allen that I really, really love that, but I mean, until further notice, I think there's a very good chance Buffalo doesn't not even in the playoffs.
They're not.
I don't think they're going to be able to rebound. I looked at that schedule. I said, no way.
If I had to put money on it, Larry, they're not making the playoffs. I
don't think so.
They don't have enough. Unless Josh Allen goes on a Linsanity run, and I just don't think Josh Allen has it in him. I hope he proves me wrong, because I don't think he has it in him.
Those Buffalo fans looked downright depressed last night. It was like, Jesus, I couldn't believe. At the end of that game, I was like, wow, Buffalo is dead. They are dead. They look terrible.
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. After watching that game, now I know why their fans jump off of heights and land on tables. I mean, my God, they set football back. Between that and the Jets Raiders game from the night before, I mean, I sat there and I'm watching that. I'm like, God, this is just hard to watch.
Oh God.
And I bet I bet the Raiders, so I was happy, but I was like, my God, this game is just ugly. I mean, just downright ugly.
Yeah.
It makes the Niner offense just look like Air Coryell or something.
It was
back in the day. It's
God.
incredible.
Jets, Zach Wilson, the O line, it's putrid, man. I
How
feel
about that draft? How about that draft? Trevor Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin
Mac
Fields,
Jones,
Mac Jones, Davis Mills. I mean, I was convinced that one of those, that several of those quarterbacks were going to be good. I mean, I don't know. Are any of them going to be good? Are any of them going to be awesome?
Trevor Lawrence is okay, but I don't think he's. Again, I don't think I haven't seen much of him. He's another guy that's making big mistakes, and for them to say, "Oh, he's a generational talent," like the comment said, he's not. He's so average. If you really look at the guy, he had a good season last year. Okay, he caught everybody's surprise.
He's a physical prototype, is what he is.
Again, yeah, you pick a movie, and you're like, "Oh my God, this is my guy. I need him on the movie today." I just don't see him as a good quarterback. But that whole draft class, quarterback-wise, stinks. Pepe Le Pew, stinky.
Seriously, it's been bad. Keith Murphy says, I still got Cincy against the Niners. Okay. Keith says, one more question. Does that game Sunday say more about the Jaguars or the Niners? That's a good question. And I asked that question in the postgame to the crew. They all said it said more about the Niners. But what do you think? I mean, is Jacksonville, they were riding high. They also lost to Houston 5 weeks ago at home.
Yeah.
What do you make of it? Was what we saw Sunday more about the Jaguars' issues or the Niners solving their issues?
I think the Niners exposed the Jaguars because you're absolutely right. I think it was more about the Jaguars because everybody was walking into this game saying Jaguars 5 games in a row. They're the best team. They're the hottest team in football. This defense, oh man, they got the most turnovers in the NFL. Josh Allen, which he was playing great. And then you had Trevor Lawrence, him and Calvin Ridley and ETN, and everybody was hyping them up. This is the team. They might get the number 1 seed. They're coming off a bye. Niners flat right. They outright steamrolled them. They made them look like a below average team. And if you really go back and look at the record, Jaguars didn't really beat anybody. Like they beat Bills, but we just talked about how the Bills are kind of middle of the road team themselves. So it really shows you that maybe the Jaguars weren't as good as everybody thought winning 5 in a row. You win 5 in a row, everybody's going to be in your corner, right? But when
you got to win on the line of scrimmage.
You do.
And the Niners lost on the line of scrimmage to Cincinnati on both sides. But one of the things I was telling Willard and Dibley when I sat in on the radio with their segment on Friday, I'm like, the Niners are going to win this game. And the reason they're going to win this game is because the Niner D-line is going to dominate Jacksonville's O-line. And, I think that's pretty much what happened. I mean, the Jacksonville O-line couldn't stand up to this 49er D-line.
Nope.
And then that was huge. By the way, Keith Murphy saw my interview style where I was excuse me, I got one more. Oh, wait, one more. One more.
Yeah.
In the locker room, I'll be like, excuse me, Dre Greenlaw, I've got one last question. Then he'll answer. I'll be like, one last one for you. And then people will rip me, be like, dude, you've said one last question 4 times. Keith Murphy says, one more. Do you think Tua, Herbert, Hurts could go down as the greatest quarterback class ever? No.
I don't know.
There was this 83 quarterback class that had John Elway and Dan Marino.
Wow, that's good. I mean, they'll be good, but nah. Dan Marino, John Elway, those are.
I mean, I think the 83 class probably is going to be ahead of that one. But, definitely a strong class, but not Elway, Marino.
Burrow.
All right. Thanks to all of our sponsors, MarinAutoglass.com, 415-883-3030. New York style Italian sausage. Check them out. Great company, great food. I'm going to be going down there for some sausage. I always throw a little sausage in the Thanksgiving stuffing. Dice up some mild.
Come over for
Thanksgiving,
man.
Yeah, seriously, it's unbelievable. I'll go with like a sourdough stuffing, and then the sage, the thyme, the celery, the onions, and then New York style Italian sausage and cranberries. Wow. And then I'll take a bunch of kind of like chicken broth, and I'll pour it over the top, kind of soften it up, and mix the thing all up together. Stuff it in the bird. Have some extra around the side.
Save me a plate, Larry.
The sausage, the Italian mild that goes in from New York style Italian sausage is freaking amazing. So maybe I'll bring that somewhere and we can try it out. Also, thanks to Pig and a Pickle, the title sponsor of the Krueg Show. Check them out in Corte Madera and Emeryville. They're open 7 days a week. Underdog Fantasy and Mojo Fantasy. Check that link in the description. Hit that promo code Krueg. And if you go to Mojo Fantasy and do it, they will that automatically enters you into a chance to win a Bosa or a Purdy jersey, which we will give away on Thanksgiving night.
Nice.
Well, a lot going on. Raj, tell me what you got cooking on your channel and on your IG the rest of the week. I know you got a bunch of stuff going on at all times. Tell us what you got going.
Yeah, business as usual. We got a show tomorrow, I think, with Aaron. I got another show with one of my guys from Instagram, from Uncovered NFL. So we got those going on. Just, keep up with the content as much as I can. We got a couple of giveaways as well on Instagram we're giving away like one of those big hitch grills. We're doing like a big tailgate. I teamed up with this company hitch, grills, and we're giving away one of those. So we got other couple of giveaways coming up. Don't want to give out too many details, but stay tuned. We always love to do the giveaways. I've done a bunch this season, so we got that cooking up. It's the holidays. We're feeling nice. So we want to give away some stuff. So look forward to that. But otherwise, business as usual.
Sounds good. One last one from Keith. He's like, I got one more. You forgot Burrow. All right. Well, Burrow's pretty freaking special.
He's good.
There's no question. But I mean, Marino, Elway. I didn't mention this one. Butthead says Marino, Elway, and Jim Kelly in the 83 class. And Jim Kelly was like, Jim Kelly is a friend of mine. I played golf with Jim Kelly. He is a great guy. Great guy. Dude.
I wish they won Super Bowl. Those 4 Super Bowl losses, I had to hurt.
Oh, I know. But Jim Kelly may be one of the coolest guys I've ever met in sports. Just an awesome guy. Really cool to hang out with. All right, that does it for us. Thanks to Raj. Thanks to all you guys. Peace to everybody. Check us out tomorrow. I'll be down in Ninerland tomorrow. Also, tomorrow night, we do our call-in show with Kev. Should be a lot of fun. Until then, peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of.